Using storytelling to drive organizational change. Welcome to Thank God It's a Story Saturday, a weekly video series where I share stories with you that you can use to make your messages connect. Today's story is a story of an 18-month-old girl called Josie King, who was admitted in one of the world's leading hospitals called Johns Hopkins Hospital for second and third degree burns. This was in the year 2011, to be specific, January 2011. Josie was admitted in the hospital and was receiving treatment and was in PICU for about 10 days and was actually doing really well. So well that she got discharged from the pediatrics ICU and went to the normal ward. Her central line had been removed, and Josie King's mother, Sorrel King, was always by her daughter's side to make sure she was recovering well. One day, after her central line had been removed, Sorrel King, Josie's mother, noticed that Josie, every time when she saw a drink, she would scream for a drink. But she was not allowed to have that drink. The nurses and the doctors had instructed that she should not be given any of those drinks. And one day, when Josie's mother and a nurse were giving her a bath, they noticed that she was, really sucking the washcloth and trying to get some dehydration from that. And Sorrel said to the nurse that, this is not a normal behavior. Is there something going on with Josie? And the nurse reassured her that this is quite normal. It's absolutely fine. Sorrel even checked with other nurses if this was okay, and the other nurses also reassured her this is absolutely fine. Sorrel was putting Josie to bed that day, and she could see her eyes were turning. One more time, she wanted to make sure that she was okay, and she wanted to see the doctors, but the nurses kept reassuring her that this is quite normal, her vitals are fine, she's doing okay. In fact, they recommended that Sorrel actually goes home and sleeps that day. So Sorrel went home and called twice that night. Next morning, came back to the hospital at 5:30 a.m. and looked at Josie and felt something was not right. So she called for the doctors immediately. Doctors came, attended to Josie, and at that time, Sorrel asked the doctor, can Josie have something to drink? The doctors agreed, and Josie was given some juice by her mother, Sorrel, and she gulped a liter of the juice down. The doctor said that she should not be given any drugs, and let's keep her under observation. In that time, Josie started to look better and feel better. She had kept all the liquids down. And then at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, another nurse walked in with an injection in her hand and had methadone injection and said to Sorrel that she's going to give that to Josie. And Sorrel said, but the doctors have verbally given an order, no drugs at all. But the nurse said the orders have been reversed and she has to give this. So she agreed. As the nurse gave Josie that injection, her heart stopped beating. And Sorrel King was then directed to a room with a chaplain in it, and all the nurses and the doctors started rushing. She was taken to the pediatrics ICU. The next time Sorrel saw Josie, she had all these machines around her and all these pipes going out of her. Her feet were blue and black, and she knew what was coming. She just knew in that moment what was going to happen. Very soon, Josie King died. All because of medical errors, not because of the burns, but because of dehydration, central line infection, and being given drugs that she shouldn't have been given. What's the point of this story? Why am I telling you this story? In fact, I have used this story to help a doctor who was responsible for introducing pediatrics rapid response team in a hospital. Now, what is a pediatrics rapid response team? Usually, the way to escalate deteriorating health issues for a patient in a hospital is a very hierarchical process. So the nurse notices what's going on, then tells the ward doctor, and if the ward doctor feels like it's necessary to call the senior doctor, then they would, and then the intensive care team would come and see, and if then the movement to the intensive care needs to happen, will happen. So in such cases, time becomes a huge issue, and a child's health could be deteriorating if the process takes so long. So a rapid response team is a team that is a group of doctors who respond rapidly, and parents or caretakers can actually call them directly. So in a hospital, when the rapid response team for pediatrics department was being introduced, a lot of the doctors and the nurses felt, what's the point? We are here. And they felt like the control was being taken away from them by introducing a new team. Until we used this story to explain the whole process of what happens. We then had a lot of data we added to make sure that people understand the issue. And then we saw the seamless change happen. In fact, the doctor even wrote to me and let me know how did the change happen after the story was told. I'll share some of his words with you here. I hope that helps to see how you can tell stories to help people understand why are you trying to drive the change that you are trying to drive. Stay storied. I'll see you here next Saturday with another story.